Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We got a fun one prepared today. What we'll be doing is we'll be looking at every single Week 17 NFL game. We're going to completely break down these games, try to give our prediction on the outcome, who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what the final score will be. And this is for all of our Week 17 2024 NFL football games. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, please drop them below and I will respond. Every week we're going over every single NFL game. There's only 2 weeks left of the regular season, guys. It's almost over, but there's a lot riding on the outcome of these games. Every week, we also go over every single college football game, the top 25, the non-top 25. We have the bowl games, and we also just had the first round of the playoffs, and we have round 2 coming up. It's going to be a fun season for both of the football outcomes. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you're a football fan, subscribe to the channel. If you're a sports fan in general, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're looking at our Week 17 NFL matchups. We have a very weird schedule of games this weekend because we have games on Wednesday, we have games on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, but let's go ahead and get things started running through these games. Kicking things off, we're going to have some Netflix games. Let's hope the streaming's a little better than the Jake Paul versus Tyson fight. There was a lot of buffering there. Let's hope you have a better outcome. This is going to be Wednesday, December 25th. This is one of our Christmas matchups, the 14-1 the defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the 10-5 Pittsburgh Steelers. This game is going to be at 1 p.m. on Netflix. Right now, Kansas City, obviously, they are the champs. They are 2.5-point favorites. Over here is 43 points. They have a 56% chance to win this game. This is a tough matchup. This is a very competitive game because this is two teams that both love to run the ball, and they both play playoff caliber defense. This is going to be a very close game. This game to me is practically 50-50. It's practically going to be a pick 'em. Looking at Kansas City. Kansas City's been banged up throughout the season, but as we're getting closer to playoffs, we're starting to get all of our guys back. Patrick Mahomes, he did play this past weekend. Everything just seems to be bouncing Kansas City's ways. The ref calls, the ball, everything is bouncing in their favor, but never apologize for a win, and they continue to win. Patrick Mahomes closing on 3,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, 11 picks. As they get closer to the playoff, this is a veteran team. That's when they start playing their best version of football. This is a playoff-built team. They're built to succeed in the playoffs. They're averaging 23.7 points a game, throwing for 225.9, running for 112.9, only giving up 18.5 points a game, only giving up 91.4 on the ground on the defense every single game. That's a top 5 rush defense. Kansas City's goal: bottle you up, keep you in the pocket, force you into third and long situations. They want to make you one-dimensional. They want to take the run game from you. Looking at the Steelers, this is a Mike Tomlin team. They play defense. They run the ball. They try to keep the turnovers down. Right now, Russell Wilson's closing in on 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 4 picks. No matter who the Steelers play, every game is a one-possession win or loss. But this is two teams that are both going to the playoffs. You know it's going to be close. They're averaging 23.5, throwing for 198.9, running for 126, giving up 19.9. Also a top 10 defense, only giving up 102.7 on the ground. Najee Harris, expect a steady dose of Najee Harris. They should have Pickens back for this game. I could see the Steelers getting the upset here. Looking at the Chiefs, Hunt, Pacheco, Kelsey, Worthy, they're starting to get all their playmakers back also. They are on the road, but I'm going to go with Kansas City winning a very close one here, 23-17. And then also on Netflix for some reason at 4:30 p.m., the 10-5 Baltimore Ravens. This team is lighting it up. Lamar Jackson again putting up MVP caliber numbers. They are 10-5 versus the 9-6 Houston Texans. The Texans, the injuries just keep piling up. They lost Diggs. They lost Dell. Their receiving core is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but still they are at home. They are a team that can score. They still have Nico Collins. They still have Stroud. They're still capable of putting up points. They're still capable of fighting. But you're going to have to score a lot of points to compete with the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, the Ravens' 3-point favorites over here is 47.5. They have a 63.7% chance to win this game. Just look at Lamar Jackson's stats. 3,800 passing yards, 37 touchdowns, only 4 picks, and he also has 3 rushing touchdowns. He has 40 total touchdowns right now. There's the outside possibility he could finish this season with 48 to 50 total touchdowns. Crazy stuff. Number 3 in scoring, they're averaging 30.1 points a game, throwing for 242.5, running for 181.2. The number 2 rushing team in the NFL, just behind the Eagles, and they're giving up 23.3 points per game. The number 1 rush defense in the NFL, only giving up 83.1 yards on the ground. They want to shut down your run game. You cannot run on Baltimore. Just put that out of your mind. But you can't throw on them. Their secondary does give up 255 passing yards per game. So secondary has questions. But if that D-line gets after their goal, if they can get pressure on Stroud, they could potentially force some turnovers. Looking at Houston, Stroud, he's closing on 3,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks. Not having the same season he had last season, but a lot of injuries this year. They're averaging 23.1, throwing for 213.7, running for 109.6, giving up 21.8 points a game. Right now, for Houston, they have Mixon. He's just a couple yards shy of 1,000. Nico Collins, who to me is a top 5 wide receiver when he's healthy. He's just shy of 1,000 yards, and he missed 3 to 4 games. And Baltimore, their roster's loaded. Jackson, Henry's closing in on 1,700 yards. Flowers, Andrews, likely weapons at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and they're healthy. I have Baltimore cruising here, beating up the limping Houston Texans. They win this one 28-20. And then we're moving on to our Thursday night game at 8:15 p.m. on Amazon. We have the 8-7 Seattle Seahawks versus the 4-11 Chicago Bears. With the Seahawks, that's one of those teams you never know what you're going to get. What version of Geno Smith shows up? Does he have the touchdowns? Does he have interceptions? He has as many interceptions as touchdowns. He has to play a clean game here. Chicago, though, since they lost that Hail Mary, they've completely fallen off the rails, have not in any way whatsoever been able to pick themselves up. Right now, Seattle, they are 2.5-point favorites. The over and here is 41.5. But this game's practically a 50-50. Chicago, a 50.4% chance to win this game. They are the slight favorites here at home. Looking at the Bears, obviously, they have Geno Smith. He's closing in on 4,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 15 picks. You got to play a clean game here. They're averaging 22.6, throwing for 244.5, running for 91.9. They got to get the run game going so that they can open up some play action, and they're giving up 22.7 points a game. Very pass-heavy reliant. Kenneth Walker, Smith, DK Metcalf had a big game this past weekend. Looking at Chicago, Caleb Williams having a really good season so far. Did not play well this past weekend. They just continue to lose because overall, the team is not stepping up and winning those games. He's closing in on 3,300 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 picks. They're averaging 18.9. They're throwing for 191.3, running for 103.2, giving up 22.8 points. Again, they actually don't have a bad defense. They just need the offense to give them a breather on the sidelines, get some consistent first downs, and their playmakers, Swift, Moore, Odunze, Allen. They have a pretty decent wide receiver core. I could honestly see this game going either way. This is our way too early picks, but I'm going to go with the Bears pulling off the upset victory. They win this one 23-17. I will be revisiting this game later this week, but as of right now, the Bears losing streak has to end at some point. I have it ending this weekend. And we also have 3 Saturday games this weekend. Saturday, December 28th at 1 p.m. on the NFL Network. The 9-6 LA Chargers here versus the 3-12 the New England Patriots, who put up a really good fight versus the Bills. Right now, you're going to have the Chargers coming in. They are 5.5-point favorites. The over here is 45.5. They have a 63.6% chance to win this game. You know why the Chargers are the favorite here on the road. They have an elite level defense. Yes, the last few weeks they have given up some points, but we know they can play defense. You have Herbert, very consistent with the ball, keeping the turnovers down. Just like Tomlin, this is a hardball team. They run the ball, they play defense, they don't give you turnovers. Right now, Herbert's closing in on 3,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and there's only 2 weeks left in the season. They're averaging 21.9, throwing for 200.8, running for 106.5, giving up 18.3 points a game. They have a top 3 defense right now. They get after it. They get a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. It's going to be their defensive line versus the Patriots' offensive line. The Patriots don't have a lot of offensive weapons for Drake May to dump the ball up to. How does Drake May respond under consistent pressure from the Chargers defense? Drake May is closing in on 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 10 picks. He's going to have a really good, clean game this weekend. They're averaging 17.3, throwing for 178.5, running for 119.7, giving up 24.1 points a game. They have Stevenson, they have Henry, and on the other side, Chargers, they might have J.K. Dobbins back this weekend. That would be a big upgrade at the running back position. And Ladd McConkey having a great season so far, rookie season. We have the Chargers getting the victory here on the road, 24-16. And then also on the NFL Network at 4:30 p.m., the 9-6 Denver Broncos and that elite defense on the road here versus the 7-8 Cincinnati Bengals. I've been saying the last few weeks, Cincinnati has to win every single game to have any type of shot to make the playoffs. They have to win this game. They are going to be challenged here. Denver can go blow for blow with them scoring-wise, and they have that defense to help them out. That's going to create some turnovers potentially here versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati gives up a lot of points, but they can score with anyone. Right now, they're going to be 3-point favorites. The over-under is 47.5. They have a 57.5% chance to win this game. Since week 2, Denver's had a completely different offense. Sean Payton coaching to Bo Nix his strengths. Dink and dunk accurate passes, roll that pocket out, keep him mobile, always give him the option to potentially scramble for the first down. He's closing on 3,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, 11 picks. Very solid rookie season. They're averaging 24.2. They can move the ball. Throwing for 205.5, running for 108.5, but it's that defense only giving up 18.7 points a game, only 99.8 on the ground. Denver's going to make you work to get those touchdowns. Cincinnati can score. Like I said, they can score on anyone, but Denver, they're going to be able to match them blow for blow. This is probably going to be a very high-scoring game. Who has the ball last? That's going to be the question mark. Looking at Cincinnati, Burrow having a career year this season, leading the NFL in passing, closing in on 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns, 8 picks. They're averaging 28.2. That's a top 5 national offense. Throwing for 267.3. That's number 1. Running for 92.7. But they give up 26.2. They give up almost as many points as they score. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for Denver to move the ball. Looking at the playmakers for Denver, Williams, Sutton. Cincinnati is loaded. Brown, Chase leads the NFL in receiving yards, and they have Higgins there. Very, very deep, talented wide receiver core. I have Cincinnati pulling off the win here, having the ball last, scoring in the fourth quarter. They win 30-27. And then our final Saturday game at 8:15 p.m. on the NFL Network, the 7-8 Arizona Cardinals here versus the 9-6 LA Rams, who are very, very hot right now. With the Cardinals, you never know which version of Arizona you're going to get. They play solid, then they have a bad game. Their pass rush is much better than last season, but they need consistent play on the offensive side. And the Rams offense is shooting it out. Don't judge them by their 9-6 record. They're actually much, much better than that. They had a lot of their star players out throughout the season. They are fully healthy right now, and their offensive roster can score with anyone. Right now, the Rams at home, 5.5-point favorites. Over to here is 49 points, and they have a 53.4% chance to win this game. Kyler Murray, he can sling it, he can run it, but they're going to need a really good a clean offensive performance to be able to score here versus the Rams. Keep the turnovers down. If you turn the ball over, the Rams are going to turn those turnovers into points. Kyler Murray closing on 3,300 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 picks. He also has 5 rushing touchdowns. They're averaging 22.9, throwing for 207.6, running for 145.8. Very balanced on the offensive side, and they're giving up 22.8 points a game when they're healthy. James Conner just shy of 1,100 yards. McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., they have a lot of weapons. They can shoot it out with the Rams, but we're going to have to see good, clean, consistent play for 4 quarters for them to have a shot here to beat the Rams. Looking at the Rams offense, Stafford, he's the veteran. He's closing on 3,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 picks. They're averaging 21.9, throwing for 224, running for 107.5, giving up 23.1 points a game. They leave a lot to be desired on defense, but their offense can definitely score. Stafford, Williams, Nakua, Cooper Kupp, Atwell, too many weapons. They're at home, but the game's going to come down to play in the fourth quarter. Cardinals can easily win this game, stay above 500, but I have the Rams pulling off the win here, 27-23. And then at 1 p.m. on Fox, we're going to have the 10-4 Green Bay Packers. They haven't played their Monday night game as of me making this video. This is our early predictions for Week 17, playing the 13-2 Minnesota Vikings. Who wants to play Minnesota right now? They're rolling on both sides of the ball. Defense, offense, solid play. Right now, Minnesota at home. 1.5-point favorites. The over in here is going to be 48.5. But it's Green Bay that has a 54.2% chance to win this game. Let's call this game what it is. It's a 50-50 pick'em. I would not be surprised who wins this game. I personally don't want to go anywhere near this game. Either of these teams can pull off the win at home or on the road. This is a very tough one, very close game. Minnesota's been rolling right now, but Green Bay, they can roll there with them. They can score with the Minnesota Vikings, but Minnesota does have the slight edge on defense. Looking at Green Bay, Love, even though he missed 3 to 4 games, he's closing on 3,000 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 11 picks. He can also do things with his legs. They're averaging 27.1 a game, throwing for 231.4, running for 144.4, only giving up 20.5 points a game. Both teams have top 7 offenses. Looking at the Vikings, Sam Darnold, the season this guy's having is ridiculous. He's going to get a massive checks next year. Right now, he's closing in on 3,800 yards, 32 passing touchdowns, only 11 picks, averaging 26.4, throwing for 235.3, running for 111.1, only giving up 18.4 points a game, only giving up 87 yards on the ground. Packers love to establish the run. Vikings have a top 3 rush defense. This is strength on strength. This game is going to come down to the trenches. Who's going to win at the line of scrimmage? But more importantly, who can do it over 4 quarters? You got to shut down the run game, not for 1, 2, or 3. 4 quarters of grinding it out. Who's going to have the depth to control that? Green Bay, Josh Jacobs closing in on 1,200 yards rushing. They have Reed. And for Minnesota, they have Aaron Jones Sr. just shy of 1,100 yards. Justin Jefferson might be the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. Single-handedly, practically won that game during Week 16. He's just shy of 1,400 yards. This game's going to come down to the end no matter what. I'm going to go out on a ledge here. This is our early predictions. We'll have one coming out later this week. I have Green Bay pulling off the win on the road, winning 27-24. I want to see a little more throughout the week, but as of right now, we have Green Bay pulling it off. But it's a 50-50 matchup. And then on Fox at 1 p.m., the 3-12 Las Vegas Raiders here versus the 5-9 New Orleans Saints, who also have not played their Monday night game as I'll be making this video. Right now, the Saints 3-point favorites. The over here is 40.5, but the Raiders have a 54.6% chance to win this game. This is a tough one to call because the Monday night game hasn't happened yet as of me making this video, so I don't know how the Saints are going to look. I will definitely be revisiting this game later this week, but don't forget Carr's out, Kamara's out. Carr might be out for the rest of the season. Kamara is like 70% of this team's offense. Leading receiver, leading rusher. A lot of the offense runs through him. He's not even going to be playing Monday night. Will he be playing Week 17? We don't know. But how does Spencer Rattler perform Monday night? That's what I want to see, and we just haven't seen it yet. So I'm kind of judging this game blind as of right now. Raiders, though, they might be one of the worst teams in the NFL. They don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. They don't necessarily do anything well. O'Connell, Minshew, no matter who you roll out at quarterback, they cannot consistently get first downs. They're averaging 17.6 points a game, throwing for 222.7 yards per game, only running for 77.5. The worst rush offense in the NFL, and they gave up 26 points a game. A really bad offense, a really bad defense as well. Looking at the Saints, they're going to be going with the rookie Spencer Rattler. They're averaging 22.1, throwing for 210.2, running for 124.4 points per game, giving up 22.3. They don't have a bad roster by any means, but like I mentioned, very Alvin Kamara-centric, and we don't even know if he's going to be playing this week. They have Kamara, and then on the other side, Madison, Bowers. Bowers having a really good season, closing in on 1,100 yards as of right now. Too bad that guy doesn't have a quarterback who can actually consistently get him the ball. We're going to go with the Raiders winning this one as of right now. Back-to-back wins for the Raiders. Can you believe it? But I want to see the Saints on Monday night. But I have the Raiders winning this one 20-17. And then at 1 p.m. on Fox, we're going to have the 7-8 Colts versus the 2-13 New York Giants, who are probably the worst team in the NFL. Right now, the Colts, 6.5-point favorites. The over here is 39.5. They have a 60.8% chance to win this game. They went away from Flacco. They've been rolling out Anthony Richardson. I've been very harsh on Anthony Richardson passing. Not a good accurate passer in any way whatsoever, but one thing he can do is he can scramble. He can run the ball. How much are they able to dominate on the ground? Jonathan Taylor ran for, 218 yards this past weekend. Can they get, not 220 yards, but at least get 100 rushing yards from him? Then you also have the rushing yards from Richardson. If you can dominate on the ground, you can control time of possession, keep the ball away from the Giants. The Giants offense is going to struggle to score no matter what. Right now, the Colts, they come in here, they're averaging 21.2. Throwing for 185.9, running for 135.2 yards per game. It's going to come down to how well can they run the ball with Richardson and with Jonathan Taylor, who can also catch the ball out the backfield, and they're giving up 23.9 points a game. Looking at the other side, the Giants have just been shuffling quarterbacks. They've had 3 different starting quarterbacks this season. It really doesn't matter who they roll out here. They're not going to consistently score. They're only averaging 14.3 points a game. The worst offense in the NFL, throwing for 185.4, running for 106.9, giving up 24.1 points a game. They don't have a bad defense, but their defense is on the field the entire game. They get wore out by the second half. running the ball wears the defense out even quicker. That's where the Colts can adapt and they can beat the Giants here. Looking at the Colts offense, Jonathan Taylor just shy of 1,200 yards. They have Josh Downs. And for the Giants, Tracy Jr., Neighbors is a legit wide receiver number 1, but he needs help at the quarterback position. They have to visit the quarterback this offseason. We have the Colts winning this one close, 21-17. And our next matchup is an in-state rivalry matchup. Who's going to win for the state of New York at 1 p.m. on CBS? The 4-11 New York Jets. Rodgers gets a lot of hate, but he's actually not having too bad of a statistical season versus the 12-3 Buffalo Bills. Who wants to play the Bills right now? The Bills are cruising on both sides of the ball. Josh Allen having a MVP season right now. He's probably the MVP frontrunner. Right now, the Bills at home. This game's going to be freezing cold. They are 9.5-point favorites. The over here is 48.5. They have a 73% chance to win this game. Everybody has them stomping down the Jets. Right now, looking at the Jets, Rodgers closing in on 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 picks. They're just not getting consistent play on the offensive side. They have issues on defense. They're not scoring in the red zone. They got to score when they have opportunities to score. They're averaging 19.5, throwing for 219.2. Only running for 88.7. Got to get the rush yards up. You got to open up the play action. You have to open up the offense and make it adaptable. And they're giving up 22.9 points a game. They have Breece Hall, Wilson, Lazard, Devontae Adams. They don't have a bad wide receiver core. We just need to see that translated into points on the field. Looking at the Bills, Josh Allen closing in on 3,600 yards, 26 passing touchdowns, only 6 picks, and he also has 12 rushing touchdowns as well. 38 total touchdowns, just behind Lamar Jackson. They're averaging 31.3 points a game. That's the number 2 offense in the NFL, just behind the Lions. They're throwing for 233, running for 133.5. This is a multiple offense. They can run it, they can throw it, and a solid defense giving up 22.1 points a game. They have Cook, Shakir, Coleman, Cooper, very talented wide receiver core, a lot of young guys there. Josh Allen not doing anything to force the ball, just taking what the defense gives him this season. We have the Bills winning this one, 26-17. Then the next game is a battle of the 3-win teams. Who can get to 4 wins first on CBS at 1 p.m.? The 3-12 Tennessee Titans. They've been up and down. A lot of close one-possession losses this season. Can they pull off the victory here? Playing the 3-12 Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, the Jags 1-point favorites. The over here is 39.5, but it's going to be Tennessee who comes into this game with a 58.4% chance to win this game. If I was either of these teams, I personally wouldn't want to win this game. I would want the higher draft pick, but no matter what, someone has to win. Looking at Tennessee, they've been shuffling quarterbacks. Levis, Rudolph, still, they're not scoring points. Too many turnovers on their own side of the field. That's what's doing this team. But they're probably going to go with Mason Rudolph here. 8 touchdowns, 8 picks. They're averaging 18.9 points a game, throwing for 194, running for 107.4, giving up 27.8 points a game. They don't give up very many yards on defense, but it's their offense turning the ball over on their own side of the field is always putting their defense in a really tough position. Looking at the Jags, obviously Trevor Lawrence out for the season, so it's going to come down to Mac Jones. Mac Jones isn't good, but at least he's a veteran, experienced backup quarterback, has a lot of starts under his belt. Right now, Jacksonville, they're averaging 18.5. These teams are very, very even on both sides of the ball, throwing for 206.5, running for 99.6, giving up 26.4 points a game. Where they really lack is their secondary, give up 263 passing yards per game. Their secondary is atrocious. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for Tennessee to vertically be pushing the ball down the field because the Jacksonville defensive line doesn't get enough pressure on the opposing quarterbacks, and they have a lot of times to just pick you apart through the air. Looking at Tennessee, Pollard's closing in on 1,100 yards. They have Calvin Ridley. And for Jacksonville, NTN, Bigsby. Brian Thomas Jr. having a really good season right now, but he doesn't have a starting quarterback. We have Tennessee winning this one on the road. Still, very close game. They win it, pull off the upset, 23-21. And our next game at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 4-11 Carolina Panthers. What a win they had this past weekend. Props to them. Since Bryce Young has come back as the starting quarterback, getting much better play from the offensive side. Yes, they give up a lot of points, but the offense is at least buying them some breather time, and they're starting to move the ball down the field and get first downs and score when they get in the red zone. They'll be playing the 8-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are coming off of that really close loss. Tampa Bay, they lost Chris Godwin, but Mike Evans is a massive security blanket. Consistent play. Every season, he gives you the same stats. He's someone Baker Mayfield can trust. And Tampa Bay, they can move the ball through the air. Looking at this game, you have Tampa Bay coming in here 8.5-point favorites. The over-under is 47.5. and the Buccaneers have an 81.2% chance to win this game. The big question here is, can the Panthers turn that win into momentum to finish out the season? Can Tampa Bay rebound, make sure to stay above 500? Panthers, Bryce Young, he's closing on 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 9 picks. They're averaging 18.9, throwing for 183.5, running for 112.3, giving up 29.9 points a game. This defense is awful. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. But the offense can help them out by scoring some points. Looking at their playmakers, we all know who the X factor is for the Panthers. Chuba Hubbard won that game single-handedly by himself. You know they're going to run the ball, and still he's running the ball, picking up yardage. He's 5 yards shy of 1,200 yards this season. Great performance from him this year. Just imagine what they'll do if they can get some wide receivers there and keep everyone off of the offensive line. Looking at Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield just shy of 4,000 yards, 34 passing touchdowns, 15 picks. They're averaging 28.5. That's a top 5 offense, throwing for 246.1, running for 143.7, giving up 23.3. They have Irving. They have Mike Evans. They're coming off of a loss. They want to rebound this game. To me, they're going to beat the Panthers. They need to get things back on track. They win this one 31-20. And then our next game, 4:05 p.m. on CBS, the 7-8 Miami Dolphins coming off that win versus the 49ers. They have their chance to chip their way back to 500 right here. They still have an outside shot to make the playoffs. Zero room for error. Have to win every single game. They'll be playing the 3-12 Cleveland Browns, who are technically a lot better than their record roster-wise, but they have not gotten everything on the field at the same time. Right now, the Dolphins on the road, 3.5-point favorites. The over-under here is going to be 41.5. They have a 53% chance to win this game. We all know what the big question is. How cold will it be in Cleveland right now? Because we know the Dolphins cannot win whenever it is sub 30 degrees. Hopefully, this game is going to be at least 31 degrees for them, and they'll have a shot to pull off the victory. Right now, Tua closing in on 2,900 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 picks. This team is much better than their record. Don't forget, they did not have their starting quarterback for 4 weeks. That limited them, or they'd probably already have a playoff spot right now. But it is what it is. You got to win these games. They're averaging 20.3 points a game. Completely different offense since they got their starting quarterback back. They're throwing for 222.1, running for 105.7, giving up 21.9 points a game, only giving up 102 on the ground. They do technically have a top 10 rush defense right now. They're going to make Cleveland Brown have to beat them vertically through the air. Miami, Achin, Mossert, Hill, Waddle. They had Hill play this past weekend. Will Waddle be back? That's a big question. Obviously, he's also a security blanket for Tua. And for Cleveland, they'll have Thompson Robinson probably getting the nod at the quarterback position. They're averaging 16.3, really struggling to move the ball, throwing for 211.3, running for 95.9. They struggle to run the ball on the ground. Miami's going to make that even more difficult for them at the line of scrimmage, and they're giving up 25.3 points a game. They have Ford. They have Judy. I think Miami goes on the road, beats Cleveland in the cold, as long as it's not under 30 degrees. That's kind of that X factor there. They win this one 24-20. Get back to 500. And then on Fox at 4:25 p.m., the 7-8 Dallas Cowboys. What a last month this team is having. They have the chance to also get back to 500. They'll be playing the 12-3 Philadelphia Eagles. Who wants to play the Eagles right now? Yes, they're coming off of a loss. What is Hurts' status going to be? He probably should be playing this game. As of right now, the Eagles, 7.5-point favorites. The over here is going to be 42.5. They were actually double-digit favors, and then Hurts goes down this past weekend, so the lines kind of moved down somewhat, but Hurts is probably going to be back this game. No matter what, Wentz is more than capable at the quarterback position. He definitely showed that this team is loaded, and who can stop them from running the ball? Dallas' defense, massive question marks. The Eagles are still the favorites, even with the injury at the quarterback position, but Cooper Rush is filled in remarkably for Dak. Dak goes out, this offense gets extremely better. Cooper Rush closing in on 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. They're averaging 21.6, throwing for 232.9, running for 95.2. When Dak went out, they were only running for 77 yards a game. They're averaging almost 20 more yards on the ground since Dak has gone out. 95.2 rushing yards per game. That's not great, but it's a lot better than it was. When you can run the ball, you can use some play action. They're giving up 26.9 points a game. Their defense is pathetic. Last season, a top 3 defense. This season, a bottom 5 defense. Much work to do in the offseason on the defensive side. And looking at Philadelphia, they probably will have Hurts back, but that's still out there. We're going to revisit this game later this week. He's closing in on 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 picks. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns. This team can run the ball. Number 1 rushing team in the NFL. They're averaging 26.8 points a game, throwing for 183, running for 187.9. Number 1, and they're only giving up 18.9 points a game. They have a top 3 defense. They have Barkley. He's just shy of 1,900 yards. This guy might set the single-season rushing record this season. He could be an outlier to get the MVP this season. They have Brown, they have Smith, and on the other side, Dowdle, when Dak went out, he was only running for 30 yards per game. He's bumped that number up to about 60 to 70 rush yards per game. He's closing in on 1,000, and they have CeeDee Lamb, who's a legit wide receiver number 1, but someone else needs to consistently step up in that wide receiver room. We have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this one, 24-14. Look for that defense to have a big game here. They gave up a lot of points this past weekend to Washington. They want to make sure that doesn't happen versus the Cowboys. And our final Sunday night game, but second to last game at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, the 8-7 Atlanta Falcons. Props to Penix Jr. Guy stepped in. Kirk Cousins probably would have had 3 picks this past weekend. He played a lot cleaner game, but he was able to get them the win. That's more important. They'll be playing the 10-5 Washington Commanders. I said last weekend, Washington had the offense to match the Eagles blow for blow. Massive win for them. Massive win for Jaden Daniels. Right now, looking at this game, you have Washington coming in here. They are 4.5-point favorites. Over here is going to be 46.5. They have a 66.5% chance to win this game. Penix, 240 yards, 1 pick. First start of his young season. He's a rookie right now. It was nice to see what he had. This team is loaded on the offensive side. There's no reason to force things. Take what the defense gives you. You have so many playmakers. Give the ball to your playmakers in space. That's all you have to do as a quarterback for the Falcons. They're averaging 21.8, throwing for 236.5, running for 124.4, giving up 23.3 points a game. But it's the roster. Bijan Robinson, Algiers, London, Mooney, Pitts, weapons at running back, wide receiver, tight end. There's so many things that you can do. Now you have a quarterback who's just going to give you the ball and let you make the play. And looking at the other side, Washington has the offense. Right now, they can technically compete with anyone. A top 5 offense, averaging 28.8 points a game, throwing for 220.9, running for 152.7. It's those rush yards that make them so deadly. Very multiple balanced offense, and they're also giving up 23.2 points a game. They have Daniels. He's the leading passer. He's the leading rusher. Outside of him, Brian Thomas Jr., and they also have Scary Terry closing in on 1,100 yards. Falcons that are hot right now. It's a tall task to ask Penix to go on the road and beat Jaden Daniels, who's having a rookie of the year type season right now. Technically, they're both rookies, but Daniels has a lot more starts in the NFL. We have Washington winning this one at home, 27-20. And our final game, our Monday night game, Monday, December 30th on ABC at 8:15 p.m. The 13-2 Detroit Lions, even with all the injuries, they might still be the best team in the NFL versus the 6-9 San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers went from almost winning the Super Bowl this past season to being 3 games under 500 by the time that we get to week 17. When they are fully healthy, though, the 49ers might have the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL. But that's the big thing. When they are fully healthy, they have yet to be fully healthy this season. Looking at the Lions, they are cruising. So many injuries, though, but still they keep winning. Right now, Goff closing in on 4,100 yards, 33 touchdowns, 10 picks. Number 1 offense in the NFL. They average 32.9 points a game, throwing for 264.7, running for 143.9. Very balanced, only giving up 19.9 points a game, only giving up 98 on the ground. Very balanced team on offense and defense. They can beat you run the ball, throwing the ball. They can also beat you with shutting you out with their defense. They have Gibbs. They lost Montgomery. They have St. Brown. So many weapons up and down the field. St. Brown, as of right now, a top 5, top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Looking at the 49ers, Purdy, you got to play a clean game here, but that's a tall task to ask when you're giving up points and when your offense is so banged up. They're averaging 22.1, throwing for 235.7, running for 130, giving up 23.3 points a game. Just think about this roster if they were healthy. Purdy, Mason, McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Jennings. That is a loaded offensive roster. They're only going to have about 50 to 60% of those guys on the field this weekend. But this is the type of game San Francisco actually wins. The Lions are looking at the playoffs. San Francisco, they're just looking for pride, and they know that they're better than their 6-9 record. They might upset, surprise the Lions, catch them off guard. But I'm going to go with the Lions winning this one, 28-21 on the road, continuing to roll through the season, keeping their sights on the playoffs. So that's our breakdown. That's our early predictions for all of our Week 17 NFL matchups. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.